This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of our investment group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business, politics, that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Dr. Gossai. Thank you very much for coming to our show. Appreciated that very much.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Grew up in Guyana, South America, for those of us in my generation.
South America?
South America, right, in formerly British Guyana, and came here as a young person to go to college.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Minnesota. I was in Minnesota. I've lived here for 39 years, in fact, with a brief hiatus when I left and went to Britain to do my PhD, and then came back and worked.
Where did you get your PhD from?
University of St. Andrews in Scotland.
Scotland.
And
oh, wow.
And then came back and then have worked and lived here ever since.
So I understand you are a Dean of the Liberal Arts in the Northern Virginia Community College here. Explain to us a little bit about that.
The college itself has 6 campuses. The one in Annandale, with which I'm associated, is the largest of the 6, with about 27 or so thousand students.
That's a very large.
It's a very large. It's a very large campus. The college itself is the 2nd largest in the country, with about 75,000 students.
My goodness!
So it's of course the location helps tremendously in the sense that it's in Northern Virginia, close to the Washington area, and so on. As the Associate Dean of Liberal Arts, we work with history and political science and communication and art and music. And then our allied discipline, English and literature and foreign languages, have split into a different division. So we work with the humanities, so to speak.
Well, I have a question for you, since you mentioned about community college, which plays a pivotal role in educating our children. Not everybody can go to Stanford or go to four-year university. What do you think? First question is, education is important. What does it do to lift your soul? And number 2, and then shed some light about K through 12 educations and also the pre-K education. And the second thing, President Obama's proposal with regard to making 2 years college free. Well, what would you do to advocate that to our lawmakers here to make it free?
Well, for one thing, it's a new idea in terms of a general idea, but there are states, Tennessee, for example, has such a system. And the idea of high school, for example, junior high, elementary school already being free. The idea behind the president's proposal, as I understand it, in my own limited way, has to do with an encouragement to students who may not ordinarily go to a 4-year baccalaureate institution.
They don't have to.
They don't have to, but may very well be
learn
equipped.
The trade.
Exactly, learn a trade, be equipped
sure.
to enter into the
workforce.
To
become the part of the 21st century workforce.
Exactly, but it's free with a caveat, and that is you work towards those 2 years. You put in some time towards it. You commit yourself in a particular field, in a particular discipline as you enter into the workforce. Obviously, it will take financing, and always that will be something of a hiccup because where does the money come from? But in terms of a vision of how our students are educated and the needs that we have within the workforce, I think it's a great idea.
So let's talk about education. Why is that important? And what does the pre-K education, K through 12 education does?
Well, it prepares, of course, for what comes after that in terms of college, in terms of baccalaureate, in terms of graduate school, professional degrees, and so on. When I think of education, I think of it more in a wider, in a much more expansive way. That is to say, it's more than knowledge. It is that, but it's not preparing for jeopardy. It's not preparing to having a conversation over Trivial Pursuit. So it's helpful to have knowledge, of course. We talk about knowledge as power. It's also more than a discipline. I want my students, of course, to be very well versed in the discipline that I teach, regardless of what it is, to be sure. But for me, to be educated is to be connected to the world. To be educated is to be steeped in your discipline, but to be able to be engaged with what's happening in the world. And therefore, for me, to be educated means that we don't ever keep it to ourselves.
So education, as President Obama said, will be the currency of the 21st century. Education frees the human mind from the shackles of ignorance. Is that what you subscribe to, that notion?
It is what I subscribe.
So education gives dignity, respect to the people, it empowers people.
It also frees the soul. It
Uplifts the soul.
Uplifts the
Human soul.
It uplifts the soul. I think it is something that does something to our spirit, to our heart, to our sense of self, to our sense of confidence.
Very well said. It creates the wealth, builds prosperity.
Absolutely. It becomes a platform.
It also gives you hope and aspirations and dreams.
Absolutely.
Very
and then
well.
you connect with the community.
Of course.
Then you connect with the community.
So as I understand, you're an author.
I am an author.
And I'm an author too. I wrote 2 books.
Yes, I've read about your books. I haven't read your books, but I've read about your books.
Okay, so
one that came out in 2013.
yeah, it did. The pivot point. How do you move America forward?
Right.
So, and one of my next book is coming on education, so, which is especially pre-K education, K-12 education, which forms the basis for children to flourish. So, the question that I have for you in terms of being an author. What kind of book did you write, and where did you get the inspiration to be a writer?
Well, there are 2 different kinds of books that I've written. You know, as an academic, one of the expectations, certainly in your young career, maybe not so much now, but is to write scholarly books, and primarily for other scholars and for the academy. And so most of my books are in the area that I have specialized in. But as the years have gone by, I'm asking questions that have to do with our community and our world. So I'm connecting with the kinds of interests that we have within our community, such as poverty, such as violence, such as hunger, such
disease.
as disease, such as helping the poor, and what does my own discipline have to do with those issues. So it's much more asking the question, what does this mean for us?
It's a service to humanity.
It is. I believe it is.
Okay, so my question is, what's the name of the book that you wrote?
The most recent book that I wrote.
Yeah, please bring it to me. Give it to me. I want to let the audience know. The Hebrew prophet after the
Shoah. After the Holocaust.
After the Holocaust. So this is the book that you wrote, and wonderful book. And why Hebrew? Is you Jewish your heritage?
Jewish is not my heritage, but it is the discipline that I have my PhD in.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful thing to do, though.
It is a great thing. For me, it is to ask the questions, what do these ancient prophets have to say to us today, particularly after something such as momentous and devastating and defining as the Holocaust? How do they speak to us? They can't be only 2,000 years ago, any more than the Quran could be 1,400 years ago, any more than the Bhagavad Gita could be 4,000 years ago.
Sure.
It has to, what does it mean for us? And so the book itself takes certain themes, primarily justice themes.
Justice and equality?
Justice and equality, justice and what does it mean to be in bondage and then to be out of bondage? What does it mean to be exiled as a people and coming out of exile? Asking those questions, what do they mean for us and how do they apply for us? And so this is the most recent of the scholarly books.
President Obama, I went with him to India, and he spoke up with a very important topic about the religious tolerance, intolerance, which is India. And you spoke a little bit about the fact that the Hebrew, in terms of Jewish and Holocaust, they sacrificed their life and they suffered and struggled for a long time to come. What is your thoughts on that? And then Prime Minister spoke up also, and there's still what's happening in the churches and the conversion. What's your thought on that?
Well, I think
that would tear apart the fabric of that nation.
Absolutely. I think we're all, I believe, touched by religion. Now, even for folks...
We are children of God.
We are. But even for people who do not subscribe to a religion, are influenced by religion, because our society and our cultural norms, our conventions are shaped by many of the ideals that we've inherited. So one of the things that is striking about the forced conversion is that by definition, as one subscribes to a belief system, it cannot be forced. It goes against the very grain of what it means to believe. It has to be an invitation. Therefore, forced conversion is almost an oxymoron. And ultimately, it will lead to
violence. It will breed violence.
It will breed violence because there will be resentment.
Exactly.
There will be hatred.
The most of the violence that's happening in some other part of the country, especially in the Middle East with ISIL and ASIL, is because of sectarian conflict.
And
and
that
not giving opportunity to others to succeed.
absolutely. And this idea that if I believe something, it is incumbent upon you to believe as I do. That, for me, there is no religion that preaches that.
Very well said. So, having lived in this country for a long time, I have two questions. Who influenced you most in your life, and why? And what is an American dream? And if President Ronald Reagan once said, America is a shining city upon a hill, and all the eyes are upon you. But that shining city upon a hill has begun to slip into the shadow. Our dream has been shattered. What do we need to do to revitalize, retransform America and American dream?
I've been thinking about this. I've lived most of my
And
life.
I wrote my first book on that.
And I've
Renewing the American
lived
Dream.
most of my life here. I've been educated here, and the kinds of opportunities that I have received here. And
Because America's inclusiveness and openness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
These are the things we can proudly and truly embrace about America.
And we can. And because you live here, because you belong here, because this is the place you call home, it also affords you a voice,
Sure.
As in any family.
And your vision and your values.
And your values, and you raise questions. For me, the American dream, it's interesting because it has never been narrowly defined.
What is your definition of American dream?
I think it is the opportunity to pursue that which you have been called to do.
So an opportunity to be the best you can be.
And ensure that that best also makes the society better for
Very
what
well
it
said,
is.
very well said.
So it's not only for yourself. For me, the American dream is a prescription. It's a description. It is not a prescription. It doesn't mean that I can only be successful if I become this. It means that I can pursue my dream and my vision and ensure that whatever it is, I leave this society a better place while making myself and my family better. That, for me, has occurred in terms of the American dream. And I've been influenced to
So
go
you
back to-
crossed the Atlantic Ocean to attain and achieve the American dream.
Yes. And
We all did. So did I.
We all did. I'm a first-generation American.
So did I. So am I.
Yeah, came here as an individual, went to college, and worked while I was in college. Did the kind of labor that many of us do.
So this is what the President spoke about, the religious intolerance. We need to give equal opportunity to all, regardless of their color, creed, religion, race, background, and belief.
And to me, Mr. Islam, if we take away our nationality, we take away our ethnicity,
Yes.
we take away our religion, we take away our place of birth, we take away our station in life and our status in society, we take away our gender. What we are left with is a common humanity. That is what unites us. It is not.
You're absolutely right. The Lord that unite us, the Lord that divide us. Our bonds are stronger than the differences that too often drive us apart.
And
Am I correct?
It is. You're absolutely correct, and it seems to get more of the attention than it should.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. And the people who've influenced me, to come back to your first question, your earlier question.
Yeah. Who?
As the years have gone by, and many of us might relate to this, I realized that the most influential person in my life has been my mother. Now, as I was growing up, of course, I thought I knew more than she did.
So she shaped your history, your journey, your destiny?
She did. And she gave me, in a way, the permission to be able to come to a faraway place, and had the fortitude to sacrifice what it means for a mother to do that for her son. And as the years have gone by, the things that have become important to me, that is equality, social justice, compassion, I realized that I traced those things back to how my mother lived. Not what I read in the textbook or what I studied in graduate school, but the manner in which I saw her relate to others. To me, she has been sort of
So your
historically
parents
the
is
most.
still in you, in addition to the love of education, is equality, justice, and peace.
And peace.
And you look forward to that India.
I
That
look,
lives
for,
is to ideals of equality, justice, and peace.
I look forward to that India. I look forward
To that in America.
To that America.
Right.
I look forward to that world where divisiveness is not what defines us. There is too much of a goodness within our core that we have overlooked. We seem to somehow focus on the things that divide, that separate, and less on the things that unite. And I look for a world in which we can say, what is it about you and I, what is it about the folks out there that we have in common, that is good, that is noble, that is virtuous?
So in addition to your mom, your parents, and I guess there's not a days goes by that you do not mourn the passing of your parents. I do.
True. I do.
And I came here when I was 15 years old, long years ago, and my parents died when I was very young. But they have been very instrumental in my life. So my question to you, who else besides your mom, besides your parents, are influential in your thinking to serve our community and our country?
Well, I think two groups. I think of the historical figures. I am deeply influenced, for example, by Socrates.
Socrates?
I'm deeply influenced by Gandhi. I'm deeply influenced.
And why Gandhi? Because of peace and nonviolence?
Because of the nonviolence, but because of the idea. So, for example, here is a person.
Wouldn't Mahatma Gandhi would be not the same Mahatma Gandhi who saw India in 1947? What India is see today in terms of the conversion of these faiths to the...
He would weep.
He will weep.
He would weep because that was not his vision. And one of the things that strikes me about him, about Socrates, about Mandela, about
Martin Luther King.
And Martin Luther King and Joan of Arc, and the list goes on, is that they all come from different religious traditions. They're all academics in their own way. They're all professionals, but they all made a commitment to sacrifice much of who they were professionally for what could become for a people. These are the people that influenced me, deeply in fact. Socrates was a teacher. Gandhi, of course, was an attorney. Mandela was an attorney, but he was imprisoned. Martin Luther King had a PhD. At the end of the day, those things got stripped away because there was a greater vision that they had.
I just received a Martin Luther King Award, International Service Award, which was
honor.
given to me about a month ago. And I said in my speech, there's an indelible connection between Mahatma Gandhi, the founder of the nation that was born, and Martin Luther King. When Martin Luther King went to India in 1959, he learned the peace and nonviolence movement, and hence the birth of what I consider today the civil rights movement and human rights movement, which President Johnson signed it.
And in fact, one of the very early interviews with King, where he is sitting on a couch, there's a large portrait of Gandhi over the couch. He's sitting beneath, and he has spoken about that.
And he did.
And he did.
I have another question for you. The poet John Donne, "No man is an island." What did this mean to you?
We don't become who we are in a vacuum.
Of course not.
We don't come to our beliefs. We inherit our beliefs. And then we may change along the line. We inherit the genetics that make us up. And we get to where we are because someone somewhere has helped us. Now, it could be a parent. It could be a co-worker.
Could be your teacher.
It could be a teacher. Mm-hmm. Often it is a teacher.
Yes.
It could be a spouse. It could be a sibling.
You're absolutely right.
No one lives on an island by himself. So when I hear someone says something such as, you know, I have done this all by myself.
It's a team sport. It's a sports team.
It's always...
It's a we. It's not I who made it happen.
Am
I correct?
You're absolutely correct.
It's a team sport.
And we live in community.
Yeah, we do.
We are defined by the community.
And you owe them a sense of gratitude.
Absolutely.
Your parents, your professors, your spouse, your friends, who made it happen.
Absolutely.
Your colleagues in your business.
When John Donne says, no man is an island, it means that we are never set apart from the mainland. We are never set apart from the community. Yes, we have an identity of our own. You're an entrepreneur, you're a philanthropist, you're a humanitarian, I'm an academic, but at the end of the day, we don't get to where we are without a community that has surrounded us.
Very well said. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Islam.
And thank you for sharing your thoughts, which has been constructive.
Thank you very
and
much.
thoughtful narrative.
Thank
and
you.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
As
Same to
you
you.
undertake this journey of humanity, serving the humanity.
Thank you
and
very much.
That is our show. This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. And thank you for watching.